Hey, everybody. This episode of Our Kids Play Hockey is brought to you by our title sponsor, NHL Sense Arena. Look, we all want our kids to succeed in hockey, but let's face it, finding training that's both effective and enjoyable can be a real challenge, and not to mention expensive and a total drain on time, especially if you have to drive to the rink, pay a private instructor. There's so many reasons that money gets spent on this game. But that's where NHL Sense Arena steps in. It's a virtual reality training game that brings the rink into your home that takes off-ice training to a new reality. It's designed to improve hockey sense and IQ, something that's lacking majorly in the game today for both players and goalies. And you get unlimited access to over 100 drills and training plans from top coaches and players that can be played anytime, anywhere, with drills approved by USA Hockey player and goalie development directors. Look, improving mental hockey skills at home has really never been more fun, and any hockey player that uses this is going to have a blast. All right. I've used this before on my own, and it feels like you're so immersed in an arena, you sometimes forget you have a headset on. And again, it's not being on the ice, but it allows you to work on some of these skill sets like scanning, as I said before, hockey IQ, looking around the rink, making the right plays, that getting those repetitions in now as a hockey player are super important for your development. So NHL Sense Arena is giving all the listeners an exclusive offer for $50 off an annual plan when you use our code Hockey Never Stops at checkout. Again, that's Hockey Never Stops. All you got to do is go to hockey.sensearena.com. Again, that's hockey.sensearena.com. Use the code Hockey Never Stops, and you'll save $50 on your annual plan of NHL Sense Arena. Make sure to check that out and enjoy this episode of Our Kids Play Hockey. Evals are coming up, people. We all know they're coming up. And in this episode, we tackle evals, right? So this was a fantastic episode. I learned a lot in this one. We attack it from the coach's perspective in eval, the parent perspective in eval, and the player's perspective in eval, and how you can prepare really before and after evaluations and tryouts, whatever you call them with your group, to be mentally ready, physically ready, and just to be in a better position to move forward in the hockey journey. So enjoy this episode. It's a big one. It's a great one. There's a lot of gold in this one. And as always, we just want to remind you, if you haven't already subscribed to us on your podcast platform, please do that. Leave us those reviews. Those 5-star reviews really do us a lot. Feel free to join our Facebook group. It's a private group. You have to answer a couple yes or no questions to get in. Our Kids Play Hockey on Facebook. And of course, our website, ourkidsplayhockey.com, has got all of the episodes we've ever done. And if you have a topic or an idea or a comment, we get a lot of emails at team@ourkidsplayhockey.com. So many different ways to get to us if you want. But above all, thank you so much for being an amazing audience. We grow every single week. It's insane. But that just means that there's a community out there of parents and players and coaches that really believe in the stuff that we're talking about and discussing, and then you're part of that. So thanks so much. So without further ado, here is a great episode on evaluations, tryouts with Mike, Christy, and I on Our Kids Play Hockey. Enjoy it. Hello, hockey friends and families around the world, and welcome to another edition of Our Kids Play Hockey. I'm Lee Elias, joined by the full crew today. Christy Casciano-Burns on assignment with us. We're happy to have her here. And Mike Benelli, always happy on a Monday morning. Mike, here with us today on Our Kids Play Hockey. Today's topic, if there was a big bass sound, that dun dun dun, we're talking about evaluations, tryouts, or whatever your organization calls them. We're going to do an episode like this every year, because every year our kids are moving to different situations. We'll have another episode about moving up to different levels very soon, but today's is about the tryouts are coming up. And I remember last year we talked about this, and you both told me last year, you said, yeah, things start to get a little weird this time of year. Yeah, right. So I've been very blessed in the sense that the last 2 teams that my son's been on have been really good groups of parents and really good groups of kids. So the weirdness right now, believe it or not, on my team, this is a blessing, is nobody wants to go. We're all talking about, we want to stay together. Oh, I wish we could do a new team. I even joked today that, my son's moving from Mite to Squirt, that we should make a new level called Sprite and just rename our team something different. But again, that's a good problem to have. The reality is most of you out there are probably experiencing the stress. You're probably wondering, oh man, what is my kid going to do? What team are they going to make? What are the other parents doing? What are my kids doing? What do I need to do? So we're going to talk about that today, right? We're going to talk about the evaluation, the tryout itself, kind of how to prepare for it. We're going to talk about the mindset going into it. Maybe a little insight from Mike and I about how placement works from a coaching standpoint, which is tough to do because it's all over the board. And then outcomes, what happens after the tryout? How do you approach that into the summer, whether your kid's elated or disappointed or so forth and so on. So I'm gonna toss it over to you, Mike, just to get general thoughts on evaluations. Christy, you've been through it more than all of us. So let's just start talking about
every level.
You've been through it. Your daughter's going to be graduating college. So Christy is eclipsing. She has done the full gamut of youth hockey, and she will be in the Our Kids Play Hockey Hall of Fame soon. We'll raise the banner in a future episode.
We need a hockey mom Hall of Fame.
That's how can you induct every hockey mom into the Hall of Fame? It's not Mike, go ahead. Let's just jump into tryouts in general.
Yeah, I mean, if you're at this time of year, we've already gone to 3 ID skates and 3, pre-tryout, tryout invitational skates. And, just understand that, most of these unethical organizations are doing this illegally. If you're on USA Hockey, it starts in, I think it's new, a rule of 24 hours after the national championship game starts at the end of the year. So I believe it's in April, and I've seen tryouts in March, mid-March. I've seen tryouts over the Christmas break already, the holiday break. So
that's ridiculous.
They're happening. I've seen them too. He's absolutely
and they're again, that's USA Hockey's problem and the governing body. I mean, it's when there's no teeth in a rule, I don't understand why they have the rule, to be honest with you. But so more power to the organizations that can have tryouts and have evaluations and grab kids early, because you've learned how to beat the system, and I guess that's probably a great lesson to teach all your family. So
the sarcasm there, people.
On that note,
go ahead and steal, kids. So I don't know. So evaluation. So I think there's so much to say about it in all sports, but I think in particular in our case in ice hockey, if you, I always put these kind of situations into 2 pools. The compiler programs and developer programs. The compilers, to my world, is the big tier 1 organizations that want to that are national bound. They hadn't had an opportunity to see all the kids, and they haven't had the opportunity to really recruit during the year. So they have a big open tryout. Everyone comes, and then you in theory you're picking the best kids from that pool to play at a national bound exposure program, right? And then you have your other programs, which are your mom and pop, parent run boards, small organizations. Maybe like if you see like in the evaluation, the tryouts, you have, I don't know, 3-4 new kids from a different program come in and try out. Like, oh wow, who's that kid from? He has a different color helmet. Like in my experience, and where I would recommend is on those teams, I don't even know why we do tryouts, to be honest with you. I think you just mentioned it with your kids. Why is there no reason why a full mite team of 8U kids that are moving up to squirts can't stay together? Why do we reshuffle the deck every year? Why do we, kind of knock the apple cart around and put all this undue stress and decision making and uncertainty and all these other things? Why do we do that? I don't know why we do it. It's wrong, and there's no reason for it. I mean, it's if you want a healthier, stronger organization and stronger kids, I just think you could pick those kids without having to go through it. Now, the opposite side, I understand. I 100% agree, I hear it all the time. Well, I want my kid to try out, and they've got to learn how to fail, and they've got to have, I want them to have the opportunity, to see what's, the best line I love is to see what's out there, to see how they fit in with the rest of the teams. Well, here's a news flash, right? If you aren't recruited to go to an elite team and you go to try out for the team, you're probably not making the team because the team's picked. So if you want to spend your $250 to go try out for a program you haven't been recruited to, you're probably not going to get picked. And when you're pissed off that you didn't make the team, this is your warning right here. Just play the tape. I went to the tryout not being recruited. I didn't make the team. It's all political. It's a bunch of crap. They didn't give my kid a chance to be on the team. It's just telling you right now, send me your $250. I'll send you the note that you're not going to make the team.
It does happen. I know parents find it hard to believe.
Not only does it happen, it's part of the process.
Yeah,
It's
it
part of
is.
it's part of the fundraising. They should really actually put that in there for most organizations. Like our tryouts are our fundraiser.
Right.
So
You
come,
want your $250, but it doesn't mean your kid's going to make it.
you're probably not going to make it. If you weren't recruited, you're not going to make the team.
Right.
Email us and tell me that you did make a team. Like I want to find out the kid that came out of nowhere in an organization. Like, oh my God, where did this kid come from? He's been playing in his backyard for 3 years. Doesn't happen. If you weren't recruited and you go to a tryout and you don't make the team, you didn't make the team because you weren't recruited.
Right.
Don't go to the tryout.
Yeah.
Just saying.
Yeah. It's a
unless
tough
it's unless it's my tryout.
That's a tough reality. But let's say your kid does get recruited, all right? And they're going for these tryouts, and maybe they're on the bubble.
Right.
There are things you can do to help them get off that bubble and get picked. First of all, parents need to stay positive. Don't put that added pressure on them. Be upbeat, give them confidence, and instruct them that, it's not the coach's job to pick you. It's your job to get picked. So have that kind of mentality going into it.
Yeah, and you can get yourself cut, right? I mean, I saw Tim Kirk post something the other day that if you're the kid that after the coach blows the whistle, you want to go wheel around the bottom of the rink and rip a shot off the top of the glass, the first thing a coach is gonna go ding. Oh, I can't have that kid. Like I think there's ways to get cut quicker.
Oh yeah,
right.
And I think there's a way you can present yourself if you're going to be late getting on the ice. If you're unprepared, if your stick breaks in the middle of tryouts and you didn't have another stick or it's in the car, like little things like that. There's ways for you to get cut.
That can get you cut from the team if you're one of those bubble kids. I mean, there's some kids who don't even have to try out. Let's be honest. I've seen that over the years. One kid was vacationing in Florida, never went to tryouts, and he was already on the team because he was that good. And that happens too. But if your kid is kind of on the fence, he's got to work for that position. He's got to make every shift count.
So let's dive into this. Let's dive into the coaching side of this, because I know the listeners are going to hear that. And again, because I know us, we're going to go 12 different directions if we don't stay on the runway here, right? So let's talk about it from a coaching, organizational, how we pick kids perspective. And you both made this point, and I want to say this to everybody listening. The tryout starts well before the tryout. All right, for you as parents and for the kid, of how you are preparing for this. And I will get into that in a bit. But for right now, as Mike and Christy said, showing up on time, showing up with the right attitude, showing up prepared to play and to compete, right? All of these go into helping us as coaches make a decision. The talent is part of it too, obviously. I'm not negating that. But all these little things can make a difference. I remember the Philadelphia Flyers, and again, I'm from Philly, anybody groaning out there. But I remember they did like one of those 24/7 type series or something internally. And on the first day of training camp for the Flyers training camp, one of their top prospects showed up 10 minutes late. It was kind of by no fault of his own. They put him to the AHL immediately. He did not get to even participate in any of the Flyers training camp. And to the kid's credit, he took accountability, said, this is on me. And I'm going to have to take a year with the Phantoms now because of this. So even at the top levels, this is pretty strict. At the youth levels, coaches do take personalities into play, right? No coach wants the kid that's crazy, doesn't listen, and is a problem at practice. Even if that kid is extremely talented, right? And this is me talking, right? Mike, you might have a different experience. So the tryout starts well before, and parents, it is my suggestion that you start to mentally prepare your kids for these tryouts. Do they thank the coaches? Do they thank the anybody volunteering to help? When you walk in, the person at the front desk gladly taking your money. Do you thank that person? Right? This has nothing to do with making the team. This is because it's the right thing to do. All right. Well, and when you do this over the course of time, I think it pays off. Mike, go ahead.
Well, you're
and you're setting the table, right? You're setting the table. So when if you're trying out for a team, let's say you're 13, 14, 15 years old, and there's a registration piece of it, then you walk in. Mom and dad give you the folder. I mean, listen, I'm not asking the kids to be on the computer and filling out their applications and knowing when their last tetanus shot was and stuff like that. and by the way, none of the dads know. So just have mom do it. and because none of the dads know it anyway. So just
That's so true.
like I got it. Does my kid even have a tetanus shot? So just go in. What I'm saying is when you go, but that, so I do the New York State tryouts, which is the regional tryouts, and then for the kids that are 14, 15, 16-year-olds, that when they make this team, they're going to go. They have a chance to play for the Olympics. Like they have a chance to play for the national team. And one of the things I'm impressed the most about is when the kids walk in, mom and dad aren't there.
Right.
And they have all their paperwork. They have, some, listen, and by the way, some kids, they're all over the place.
Yeah.
And it's like, I don't know where my paperwork is. I don't have my folder. I don't know what number I am. But then there's kids that come in. Here you go. Nice to meet you, Coach Spinelli. Shake your hand. You remember that. And I could tell you right now, if if the evaluation team and the coaching team are in this vicinity and they're one and the same, you're getting a plus.
Right.
You're getting the extra.
This is just one part. We got to read it. It's just one part. We're not guaranteeing anybody's making any teams on this.
One part. But when to Christy's point, when you're the bubble kid, the kid that showed up that didn't remember the number you gave them is not as valuable to you as the kid that came in and had all his ducks in a row.
Right.
And that's just, and again, I'm not asking you to be a butt kisser here, but be prepared.
Polished.
Be polished.
Like you're going for a job interview.
Right. And in a lot of ways you are,
because with them throughout the rest of their lives.
I got to pick you and you got to play with me for the next, 8 months. I need to know that, I got some kids that are a little self-sufficient. Now, if you're 6 or 7, it is different, but if you're the kid that's wheeling in and running around, and it sets the wrong tone.
Yeah.
Let's talk about 6, 7, 8, 9 real quick, because I think, as a parent of kids that age, I find myself sometimes like, I'm just going to do this because it's easier if I just do it. Mm-hmm. And I've had to stop myself, be like, no, you've got to, Logan, my son, come, I want you to watch how I fill this form out. I want you to say hello to this person. I want you to, we talked about this last week, Mike, there's a contract here that you have to sign. So while it's faster and I'm excited to be there, I have, as his parent, I feel like I need to bring you along and you need to watch this. If you can't do it, at least participate in me doing it.
Let them develop those skills. And it's so good. I'm loving this, Lee. You are learning so much from us. You are coming along, my friend.
Listen, I've been equipped with this great arsenal because of you guys, and I'll get into that in a minute. But I want to tell you guys a story about this, and then we'll kind of move on to the on ice portion of tryouts. Mike, you had said before about elite tryouts and being on the team. So I was a very nervous isn't the right word, but I remember going to college. I was on the team. I had already made the team, and still throwing up before tryouts. I was so nervous about the tryout. And I don't mind admitting that to everybody, right? So 2 parts here. One, I made the team, no problem. I was just like plagued with what if I don't make the team? That's who I was at that time, right? Because the game meant and means so much to me. Now, with that said, I'm so thankful for that experience because, Christy, you just said this. When I got to real job interviews in Manhattan, at the NHL, and I'm name dropping on purpose, Madison Square Garden, like these are big places. I was fine. Like, because I had already been through this in my life. And that's the point I'm trying to make. As an 18-year-old freshman, I was really learning these skills for job interviews. And I got a lot of these jobs. Again, I'm not bragging, friends. I'm just saying that the sport prepared me probably better to go into those interviews. So there is a real life aspect to this.
Mm-hmm. Right? And that's what I love about this sport, because there are so many opportunities that your kids get to mature. And they're going to pay dividends later in their life. I see it with my own grown-up kids now. And I know some of their success, of course, their personality and their hard work, obviously, but a lot of it came from those opportunities in hockey where they had to step up and do things on their own and to prove themselves.
It is a vehicle for your kids' growth as a human being. And I think actually tryouts and evaluations are one of the greatest moments of the season or opportunities of the season to teach these. So let's just talk about now the on ice stuff. I want to do this from a coaching standpoint first, and then as a player's standpoint, because parents, I really want to equip you and your kids with some mental fitness tips on how to just do great on the ice, regardless of where their placement. But Mike, I'm actually excited to talk about this. We talk about this during the games that parents only watch their own kid, and that's mostly true.
I know.
Tryouts. Yeah. At tryouts, we are not watching your kid the entire tryout. In fact, depending on the level, you're probably getting 15 seconds to 60 seconds of a look. Again, depending on the level, depending on how many kids are trying out, at a time. That's what I'll say. Right. So unless you see 50 evaluators, there's a good chance that the coaching staffs are not able to watch your kid the entire time. Now, there is a tactic for players with this, but Mike, I want to talk about this as a coach. Christy, is your experience as a parent that when we're evaluating, depending on the drill, like you get your few seconds and then we got to move on to the next kid.
I mean, just from an evaluation standpoint, if you're a parent, right, and you see the evaluators there and the team's not pre-picked already, if it's a true evaluation. And again, I've worked with some pretty good coaches that are really good evaluators. And I think, what I try to do, I know my strategy, and one of the things I try to get other coaches to understand is that you can't just focus on the one kid and watch him go through like the drills or in a lot of cases, as the kids get older, it's usually a scrimmage or a game. They don't do a lot of cone drills because again, you can look great in a cone drill and not know how to play hockey, and vice versa. I mean, so it's just one of those things where you're like, well, I want to know if you can play. And so what I try to do is, and I think this is what a lot of evaluators do, you knock off the top and you knock off the bottom. Like right away, you just say, okay, here's my 5 best players. This is I've identified who the best kid on the ice looks like he is or she is. And then I'm going to now rate everyone compared to that player. Like, so to me, it's like, okay, that's the best player, best 2 players, best 3 players. Yeah. Everybody else now is on that barometer. And then I can look right away. I mean, especially at the lower levels, you could tell right away, like, okay, these 10 kids shouldn't even be out here. And based off of
we know what you mean. Yeah, their skill
based
level
off the
is
evaluation,
not
they should be somewhere, but not here, right? Or they were misinformed about maybe what level this team might be. So then you're just like, boom, boom. Okay, those are my kids. I'm probably not even going to look at again. I'm that sure that they're not in the mix. And then there's Christy's group, right? That's she's talking about the bubble kids, and the bubble kids might only get 2 minutes of total view time.
Right.
So it could be they slammed the door on the bench because they didn't get enough ice time. It could be they fell down on a breakaway once.
Right.
It could be they were doing a pivot drill and they fell. And then and then you saw the body language and the nervousness and the fact that they weren't confident, or you saw a kid fall, get up and say, the hell with it. I don't care about that. Like, so now you're looking at all the bubble kids. And then that's the hardest part of the game. That's the hardest part of evaluating is finding what difference. And this is really what goes back to why I hate 2 or 3 day evaluations.
Right.
Because I just don't. If I ask you, Lee, I want you to list your 15 kids from the 23 weeks you know them, and then I'm going to list my 15 kids on the 3 days I know them. Even if you're a bad evaluator,
I'll have a better.
It's going to have a better view of who the kid is than me. And you're going to have a lot more perspective, right? You're going to say, oh yeah, Mike, he looks good there, but he hasn't passed the puck in 3 years. Or, or
so practice kid, he's not a good, he's
just not a good teammate. He's not a really good teammate.
Right.
And I don't know that. I mean, I can see him and I'm like, so it all depends on, and this is kind of goes back to our original podcast, right? If you're parents, beware, if you're going to a team, know the evaluation process, know the trial process. Are you picking the best 15 kids top to bottom, or are you picking a team? That's very important. If I'm picking a team, I might not pick the best 15 kids top to bottom.
Well, this is right back to Miracle, right? That quote is, "I'm not looking for the best players, Craig. I'm looking for the right ones."
Well, and this guy, and that guy, what's his name? He seemed pretty right. I mean, he seemed like he knew what he was doing at the time, right?
I mean,
and we've all of us have modeled after this because it is a team game, which is the beauty of it. I don't. If it wasn't, you would just everything would be a skill time drill.
Yes,
you would put the kids through it and say, "Oh, there's my metrics. Put them on the team."
Mike, I'm willing to bet, Christy, you too. I'm willing to bet most of us listening to this show have been on a team as a player parent where it was the most talented 15 kids and the season was miserable.
Yeah.
All right.
All right. Absolutely.
And if it wasn't miserable, it's because they were great kids, right? And they all got together and they were well coached. So again, look, this is a bit of a lottery is not the right word, but it is a bit of an up to chance. Things happen during the season. Kids go through stuff. like anybody else. But Mike, you're making a great point. You know, the things that evaluators look for. I remember doing a tryout of, okay, what's the skating aptitude of some of these kids, right? Because if you can't skate, right, and again, you might say, well, he's got great vision. She's got great vision, right? But if your kid can't skate, that's inappropriate development for me to put them on the top team without that skill set. And I need to put them where they're going to develop correctly. Now, parents also listening, there are bad evaluators and there are bad evaluations. And there are bad people that pick bad teams. This happens out there, right? I'm saying if you're doing this at the right level, you're going to be looking to place the kid. This is the key. And then, Christy, I definitely want to get to your list. You want to place the kid in. Daryl Belfry said this on our show too, where that kid will develop appropriately.
Yeah.
All right. It is not about the A team or the AAA team or the B team.
Right.
It's where will your kid develop appropriately. That is what is most important. And again, look, parents, when your kid doesn't make the top team, it hurts. It can hurt, even when you think it doesn't.
It stings terribly.
All right. But you got to be realistic. I'm telling you, some of the best seasons I've ever had, both as a player, but also as a teammate, were years I didn't make the team I wanted to make. Right. So you never know how those cards are going to lie. But Mike, those were some fantastic points just about how we look. And again, parents, I will dive into how to mentally and physically prepare your kids for those situations, because I'm sure some of you are going, if they only get 20 seconds, how am I supposed to prepare for that? There's a way. All right. Now I'll explain it to you. But Christy, we need to go to My Kids Play Hockey.
The
Bible,
right.
as you call it.
Here's a list that I put together interviewing a bunch of coaches about evaluations. And again, you need to let your kid know it is your job to make the team. That is your job. Try your hardest. Here's what you can do. Fly, play fast, keep your feet moving, play with energy, be strong in traffic, and also along the wall. What do you think about that, Mike?
Yeah, you can't so all of us want tough kids, right? That aren't going to shy away from physicality, even at 8 years old. I mean, we want kids that are going to battle, right? So knowing, how to position yourself on the wall. I don't know about skating fast all the time. Sometimes, fast at the right times, right? And you don't have to just hustle to get nowhere. But if you're fast and you know how to delay, you know how to play, like all those kind of things are going to look great. If you're a disher and somebody that's a good teammate, that goes such a long way. Only because you get to see a player being unselfish. I mean, I think there's sometimes when a parent would say, "Listen, just go out, don't pass to anyone, score as many goals as possible."
That's a mistake.
And I guess. I joke around a little bit. We used to have this in lacrosse all the time. Like I used to make the kids do the 2-pass rule, right? And the parents are like, well, you got why are you making us pass? I go, because at some point the player's not going to be able to just go from the goal line to goal line and score.
Right.
Now, and if they can, trust me, I will let them. If they can do it and never pass to anyone and win a game 8-6, I don't know. I'm probably letting the kid do it. But
I love that 2-pass rule in lacrosse when my daughter played. That was fantastic.
It just helps to
actually learn how to pass.
Well, and learn that the fact that there's other people on the field and you got to get your head up. So that coach, I mean, so far so good. I like those recommendations for sure.
All right, win the little battles. With every one-on-one battle all over the ice, have a constant work ethic in every drill, every shift. Get loose pucks first, play with an edge. Be hard to play against, take it personally, and never give up.
Right. And don't we want that all for all our kids when you see him out there? Like, man, he's just a dog on a bone. Like that player, just doesn't want to give up. He wants to compete. Yeah. And they know they're not over competing, right? The shift's over, get off the ice. Or the battle's over, get off the ice. What I actually love watching players that battle hard and beat up the other kid pretty good, off the puck. And then after that, they give him a little tap on the rear saying, hey, that was a good battle. Nice job. Yeah. Like that's making me better. Like that's making me better. And I would say that too. If you're going against teammates that on the same team, don't lay off that kid. That's not helping the other kid. Like, don't be like, oh, he's my teammate all year. Right. Like because that just, manifests itself later on. Just battle and then say, hey, that was a great battle. Next time you'll get me.
Parents, listen to this. This is good stuff. Play off the puck. Research shows the best players in the world only possess the puck for about a minute in a 60-second game. So what are you doing when you don't have the puck? Support the play on both offense and defense. Stay engaged and make a difference.
Great evaluators will look for that. I can't guarantee you that all evaluators will look for that, but great evaluators are looking at the kids without the puck to see what you're doing. Mike, I'll throw it back to you, but I can tell you that right now.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's just to I just want to get this in there that there aren't many good evaluators. So just understand that you're asking a group of basically all of us, right? And all these organizations are volunteer people that aren't evaluators. They just don't know how to look for talent. So to Christy's point and all these little points, do the lowest common denominator for the person that's just looking at the game. You work hard, you don't give up, you battle, you position yourself in the right places. Like I'm looking for, I don't like the way that kid pivots to his left and he's a left defenseman. He's going to really struggle later on. Like I'm looking at all these little nuances, but most people that are evaluating the kids are not evaluators. So they're just saying, they don't know if your stick's positioned correctly. They don't know if you're taking ice. Did the kid score? Did he stop a goal? That's it. Right. And I think that's so to your point, Christy, all those little things really go towards the non-evaluator, the person who doesn't really know what to look for, but
which is the majority.
The majority. And that's not a knock on anyone. It's just that's what it is. And it's the eye test. It's like, okay, I'm looking at it and I can see it. Like the same thing. Like I have a good friend. Well, our friend Pete Whitney, right, who's a arborist, and he can look at a setup in the yard and go, nope, good, yes, no, that shouldn't be there, that shouldn't be there, this shouldn't be there. I'm like, I'm reading the garden dummies. You know what I mean? I don't know. So look, when there's experts, there's experts. When there's not, the common denominator for a non-expert eye in hockey: work hard, don't give up, be in good position, be a good teammate.
Right. And for those of you that garden out there, remember, do not put tomatoes next to any other vegetable. They'll strangle them and they'll be dead very quickly.
And always look for good roots.
No, I'm kidding.
Good
It is true. Yeah. Yeah. No, I learned that last year when we started.
Should have called Coach Whitney.
I should have. He would have told me not to let the tomato strangle the cucumber. I'm sure there's a metaphor for hockey.
And one more point, even though we've gone over this, it's so important. Let's talk about it again. Character matters. Be a positive team player. Right. Make your teammate better players. Be willing to accept a role. The third line center that won't be happy unless she or he is on the first power play unit probably gets cut. Carry your own bag and sticks, even if your parent offers to carry them. Say please, say thank you when you get a drink from the snack bar after practice. Do the right thing even when you think no one is looking. I love that. Do the right thing even when you think no one is looking.
Oh, that's character, 100%. That's definition of it.
So I've had teams who've won championships with players that were less talented, but I've never won a championship with a team that lacked character.
Right. So. And I love that the little those are the little things, right? When we had Darryl Belfry on, and in his own book, he talked about his daughter and how he would make her go to these tournaments, blind, like just the only kid on the team that she knew was her, and come out of the tournament weekend or come out of the locker room knowing 3 people, or engaging with somebody. So this is my advice to players all the time is like, if you're new to a team, get in there, be engaged, introduce yourself, be positive, because guess what, the best players on the team are gonna be asked, hey, what do you think about the Benelli kid? What do you think about him? And coach, that kid, he's a real positive kid. He was in the locker room. He said hello to everyone. Like, not sitting in the corner, looking at your phone and then, going out in the ice and keep looking at your dad. It's like, go in there, be engaged, be friendly. It's like the same, it's just a common, human characteristic. If you come in smiling, people are going to smile. And if you come in positive, people are going to think you're a positive person. And so come in, say hello, be engaging, get on the ice. You're going to be more likely to be the kid that they want to be on the ice with. Because you'll see, if you're watching, that's one thing about an evaluator too. You'll see, you watch for kids that not bullying, not being overly aggressive, but being confident. Like, they want to get on the ice next. They'll be the first kid that, when you do the scrimmaging and the kids rotate, and they get off the ice, and then the line moves down, and the next 4 kids or the next 5 kids go on. They'll be the kid that's always trying to cut the line. They'll be the kid that's always wants to be out there again and get on the ice again. Not because they're a jack, not because they're not nice, but because they want to
No, they're
compete.
competitive. They want to be there.
And
We
they
look
have
for that.
passion. They
We
have
look for that.
passion for the
If
game,
you're
and
if you're the if
they
you're the
love to
kid
play.
that
And you feel that, yeah.
right, and if you're the kid that hides in the corner and doesn't gets in the back
Yeah.
of the line or never lets other kids get in front of you. I can't tell you how many times I've had parents email me the whole tryout. So and so kept getting cut in line, and so wouldn't get on. They wouldn't let him on the ice with the other kids. You've got to do something about that. I'm like, no, you need to do something about
Right.
that. Your player has to advocate for themselves. Now, again, I'm not saying a 6-year-old. But if you're 12, 13, 14 years old, don't have a fight on the bench. Be aggressive. Be
Push each other.
there.
Yeah.
Be there and just be noticed.
I also want to mention here just bullying, because we're kind of alluding to that, because I know there are some, I've talked to them, parents who say, my kid's really nice, but he gets bullied, or she gets bullied by the other players. Yeah, it's part of life. It sucks. I'm not going to lie to you. I mean, I was bullied a lot when I was a little kid. Didn't like it, but look, it's a tool. All right. I think first off, kids that bully, that says a lot more about them than your own kid. That's number one. And number two is that you can teach them the self-esteem and the confidence of, if you are getting bullied, that bully does not define you. How you respond to it defines you. And again, look, that's tough when you're 10. It's tough when you're 12. All right. It's tough at any point, but the life lesson, the long-term adversity you're going to learn from that is important, because as Mike just alluded to, when you get to the higher levels, and I mean the more competitive levels, and this could be, from really peewee up, but I'm thinking higher level than that, but they all compete. And like Mike said, there's kind of a fine line between bullying and competing, right? I wanted players as I got older that were going to push me to do better and better and better. And again, from a layman terms, you might look at it and say, well, that guy's being really hard on you. That guy's pushing me. All right. And he wants me to be the best for the team. You're going to want that as you get older, but the only way to be able to have the thick skin with that is to kind of deal with this stuff when you're younger. Right. So pointing the fingers, I'm going to kind of transition here a little bit too, but pointing the fingers, you got to take accountability and author your own story with this stuff. And that's the message we really need to teach our kids, right? Is that no one's going to protect you out there. Right? You got to figure this out. If someone's cutting you in line, well, get back in front. All right. Or say, no, I'm here. It's not the coach's job to protect your son or daughter from not getting cut in line. Right. First off, is that what you want the evaluator watching? Right. Is that what you want the coach watching, or the skill? So real quick, by the way, Christy's tips are great. If you haven't already grabbed her book after 2 years of the show, My Kids Play Hockey, make sure you go check that out. It's available wherever books are sold. It's fantastic. All three of us have a copy. No,
I appreciate that.
Anything with her name on it, you should pick up. She is. You want to talk about Hockey Mom Hall of Fame? You're probably the chairwoman for that. But yeah,
let's also talk about once you do make the team, you got to set your kids, especially if they were the bubble kids again. You got to prepare them that the work has only just begun.
Right.
All right. So you made the team. You got to roll up your sleeves. You got to work hard. And now that you're in that upper echelon of teams, you have to have some armor too, because if you're not performing, you're gonna sit. And it's not everybody gets a turn. If the coach doesn't think you're up to that level, you're going to be on the bench, and you need to prepare your kid for that too. It's not the same as a house team. Everyone doesn't get a turn here. If you want to be a part of this team, if you want to play with this team, you also need to be prepared. There could be some hurtful times if you're not up to what the coach believes is the standard for that team. And that can be tough.
Oh,
and
absolutely.
really hard on the parents not to see your kid play. It can be, the kid can get miserable too. So make sure they're ready for that. Like, are you okay with sitting on the bench?
Right. Know what you're walking into.
Might not be the right team for you.
You got to set these clear expectations and standards. And, I do want to talk about the mindset of going into a tryout, parents, for you and your kids, because Christy's right. These outcomes happen. You might not even be thinking about that part of it. But there's a few things that I want to put out there. Because again, I was very anxious about tryouts when I was a kid. I just, I wanted to make it so bad that I could lose sight on, what I needed to do to prepare. Right. It was just, what if I don't make it? What if I don't make it? These are normal thoughts for a kid. What if I
Sure.
don't make it? Am I good enough? What does it mean if I don't make it? What if my friends all make it and I don't make it? These are
Yeah.
absolutely normal thoughts for
They're
kids.
big
Right?
stressors.
They're massive.
Absolutely.
Right? Well, look, you got to put yourself in the kid's point of view. If your kid's obsessed with hockey, this is their universe.
Yeah.
This is they probably, we talked about this a lot, but how are they not supposed to define themselves by this a little bit, right? This is their whole universe. All right. As you get older and you work and you have kids and you see the world, things change. But when you're 12, this is everything to you.
It is
Right?
everything.
So how do you prepare your kid for that? Now, parents, this is where I'm going to kind of use my mental fitness training and what I do for a living. First and foremost, it's very important, and your kid may not react to this. It's very important that you express to your child that whatever team you're on, I am not valuing you based on the team that you make. This is whether you make the AAA All-Star team or you make the C team. It doesn't matter. Anything in between. I don't value you based on that. You've got to tell your kids that. All right. You're first off, if you don't, you're setting yourself up for some tough times in the future and your kid. Okay. Not just you. That's number one. Number two is, if you want to relieve the stress, I think it's so important that your kid knows that no matter what happens at the end of the day, I've got a safe place to go back to my family, and that my mom and my dad aren't going to be embarrassed that I didn't make the team. All right. And there's a lot of ways this manifests itself without you realizing it. One, you don't just say that to them. That's the easiest way, is just mentioning, I love watching you play. No matter what team you're on, I'm going to love you when you come home. Just do your best. Make sure you're saying that. Number two, parents, your reaction to the tryout, to the team, they take that in. All right. I have seen it and I've heard it. You're driving home. It is BS. You didn't make that team. That kid doesn't deserve to be on that. You deserve to be. I can't believe that the way they did this all wrong. You are teaching your kid the wrong thing in that moment. Even if you're right, you're teaching the kid the wrong thing. You need to teach them accountability in that moment, because that's how life is.
Yeah.
When they're 21, 22, you know what this turns into? You deserve that job. Those other people, that kid's that person's cousin, and that's why he got the job. It's not going to solve the problem. Does that happen? Happens every day.
Right.
All right.
Tough lessons
tough.
at a young age. But you're right. It'll prepare them for life. And here's the thing about life: there are a lot of disappointments. You don't always get what you want, right?
Right.
And sometimes that's for the best. It can end up being a blessing in disguise, which you don't see at the time.
Well, Christy, I'll give you just a really great example. I remember my second year of Bantam, did not make the team I wanted to make. All of the kids on the team made the team but me. Like, this is one of those situations. And I was in the car on the way home. Oh, it hurt. It hurt bad. I remember this. By the way, I'm so thankful that this happened now. And I'll tell you why. I remember being in the car on the ride home, like with my head kind of on the seatbelt, looking out the window, because I didn't want my dad to see me so upset. And I realized now a few things. One, he was just as upset as I was. Right? He was hurting too. And it's funny because he said to me, you never know how this is going to play out. Maybe this would be for the best. And I remember saying, like, you don't get it. This hurts so bad. I was a teenager, right? But here's the thing, parents. I remembered that he said that. Like that, I didn't react to it, but I heard it. Right? This is also a key to marriage. Right? I heard him. And the thing is, that stayed with me. I never acknowledged it until later on in my life. Right? So you never know when what you're saying is going to get through them. And again, this is kind of funny because it's just like tryouts, Mike, right? You never know when they're watching you on the ice. So you got to kind of do it all the time. We'll get into that too. As a player, you got to be going the whole tryout, because you never know when that 20, 60-second time period is going to be. But parents, the messaging you give your kids is incredibly important. You got to check yourself, even in your own disappointment. We are not accountable enough right now as a society. I'm saying that, whether you can agree or disagree with me. And we are not teaching our kids to be accountable in the face of adversity. It is not fair. Nothing in this game tends to be fair. Every ref call is wrong. Every goal against is wrong. Every mistake. Nothing about the game has ever been fair. So we shouldn't expect it to be fair at evals either, to a point. what you can do that's fair is give your kid the best chance from a mental standpoint to deal with this adversity, even if it's going to last the whole season.
Yeah.
Right. So again, I'm on a soapbox right now. I really believe in this. All right. The messaging you give them, I'm going to say it one more time. I love watching you play. No matter what happens at this tryout, I'm going to love you when you come home. Right. Don't be embarrassed to say that to your kid. You feel it. If you listen to this show, I know you feel it.
Right.
After the tryout, like Christy said, oh man, it didn't go the way we wanted. What are we going to do about it?
Exactly.
All right.
Yeah.
Are we going to
And there
train harder?
There are always other options, you
Right.
know.
Do you
And
want
I've
to go
shared
somewhere else?
Right. I've shared this story with you guys before. Sophia, I think she was 12. She got cut from a triple A team, went to a house team. She got very creative, lots of ice time, really developed her shot and her stick handling. Then when she tried out for another triple A team, she made it. She was ready. She matured on the ice. She matured as a player. She developed her skills. You know, now she's playing college hockey. So, you know, the best thing for her was to get cut from that team, because chances are she would have sat on the bench a lot.
Made her hungry. Made her hungry.
Right? And she actually got a lot more ice time and was able to develop her skills, where I think if she was on that AAA team at age 12 or 13, she may not have developed as proficiently as she did. So, you know, things happen for a reason, and
totally agree with that.
You know, it could be a gift that you're just handed. You don't see it at the moment.
Christy, I'll tell you this too, is one of the things you can't put in a kid, this is as a coach I'm talking, as parents, you play a role in this, but you can't put the drive into them. Right. And sometimes that drive shows itself the best after getting cut. All right. And the thing is,
it can go one of two ways. They say, okay, I'm done with this. This is not the sport for me. I'm going in a totally different direction. Or it might make them happy and say, I'm going to make that team next year. I'm going to work so hard. I'm going to the gym. I'm going to get a personal trainer, and I'm going to make that team next year.
Well, and again, from a messaging standpoint, what is more conducive to create that drive, or to bring that drive out of a kid? Is it this organization sucks and they don't know what they're doing? Your kid's just going to agree with you. It's not going to create anything. Or, you know, I think we got a bad showing here, but what are we going to do to get better? What can we do so that there's no doubt next year? Right. These messages are so important. And it was so beyond hockey, by the way. This could go with anything that your kid's doing.
So true.
Mike, I see you smiling over there. I know. I want to get your thoughts on this too.
No, it's my favorite comment after a tryout of a team that you want to make is that the team stinks and they don't know what they're doing.
Right.
I said, well, I knew what I was doing prior to you coming, and all of a sudden now I don't know what I'm doing. So it's just, but again, that's the human condition. And that's that's just doing your research. I don't know at what age, depending on your own kid, and their maturity level and their ability to take this kind of stuff in, is when do you want to, avoid those conflicts or make sure they're in the forefront. Like, listen, there's some kids that maybe you need to go and try out for a team, they're not going to make, just to rein them in a little bit. Right. And just to show them, like, listen, you say you want to do this, but this is another level. Like here, this is again, I don't know if you got to do that with a 5-year-old, but I don't know if they're going to get anything out of that. But there are certain teams you can say, listen, I'm all for you trying out. Just understand, I'm just going to, you're going to lay it on the table that maybe you're not going to be good enough here, but at least you can rate your own barometer. If the kid can handle that, if they can't, then why do it? Like if they can't, if you and your child can't handle the failure, then don't do it. Like wait till they can, and then equip them properly.
Look, I want to reiterate this too, and
don't put them through that hurt if they can't handle it.
Yeah,
I don't like admitting this, what I'm about to say, believe it or not. It's always hard for me to say, but I still say it because I think it's important. I started playing hockey when I was 12. I played on B teams until my second year of midget. Okay. And then I was all of a sudden on AAA teams. You never know how this road is going to place itself. I needed to be on those B teams to learn the game. And once things started to click after 4 or 5 seasons, suddenly I was in an upper echelon of players. I'm not bragging at all, right? I was disappointed most seasons after tryouts because I didn't make the team I wanted to make, but that was the right progression for me at the time and how my parents and I approached it. of I wanted to work. I wanted to put the time in. That was me.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. I'm trying to use my own experience. I hope this isn't coming across as egotistical. It's not the purpose of me telling you. All right. I don't think telling you I made mostly B teams is egotistical. But the point I'm trying to make is this. How you respond to where you're at is infinitely more important than where you're at. All right. And again, Mike, you said this earlier. I wanted to, you just said it again, is that if you're going to go to a tryout to see where you're at, you better have some pretty realistic expectations about it. I don't think there's any problem with bringing a kid, if they want, and you guys agree on it, to a tryout. You know, you're probably not going to make the team, just to see where you're at, as long as you have very clear understanding of, like, I just want to see where I'm at. Right. I don't think there's anything wrong with that if you want to pay for that. Now, again, as Mike said, if you go there, you need to make the team, give me a break. You know what I mean? Like, you got to be realistic about that too. Another thing I want to talk about, I wrote this down, is cuts. All right. Now, I do think at the Adam, Might, and Squirt levels, every kid should have an opportunity to play somewhere. All right. But as you move up, I am not against cuts. I think cuts are important. I think it's an important life lesson. All right. I think that when you don't cut kids and you have 17 teams, I don't know what that does, right? If you're trying to be a higher echelon organization, right? So the reason I'm bringing this up is I think parents, cuts are part of it. And we got to tell our kids that you might get cut. How are you going to mentally prepare for that? How are you going to deal with that? Again, those are the types of questions. You know, I don't know. Oh, well, how do you think it'll feel if you get cut? We don't have these discussions. Right? How do you think it'll feel if you make the team? Right? These are the types of discussions we need to have. Mindset is so important to the success of your kid, having that self-esteem and understanding. Sometimes you win, sometimes you don't. Right? That is life. You got to use the game as that vehicle for growth. And parents, it's gonna hurt you. It will hurt you when they hurt.
Yeah.
All right. Sorry, go ahead, Christy.
No, and even as they get older, even when they're searching for colleges, you know, there was a college that was recruiting Sophia, and she was all set to go there. And then she got a call from the coach and said, "Oh, we had a bunch of Division I players. The school closed, and we're taking them instead of you." You know, here we go again. But you know what? She's able to rebound because she had those life experiences earlier of not making a team and knowing that, you know what, maybe that wasn't meant to be. Something better is going to come along. She was a very positive person, and it did. So, you know,
I wonder where she gets that from.
Yeah, but those are the things like that. Those are the reactions you have to have. You can't be the reaction when your kid doesn't make a 12U team, and the next thing out of your mouth is, you know, you're going to hear from my lawyers and we're suing you.
Right.
And it happens all the time. It's amazing. Yeah. And then I'm like, you want to put your child on a team that doesn't want them? Like, it doesn't make sense to me. Like, what reality are you in that you think that's going to be a positive experience for that kid?
What have you taught them?
Well, yeah, I mean, again, maybe you get maybe you get on the team, you end up you win the goal that wins them a championship. I maybe, but I don't know what. I just never have gotten and maybe it's just the way I was brought up and the circumstances in my life that I don't understand why you would want to demand to be on a team that didn't want you to be on the team. Right. Like, to me, it's like, well, what are you getting out of that? Like, why don't you go to the team that really actually wants you? That's ego. Like, and you know, so it was funny. There's a I'm gonna post it when this episode posts. I'm gonna send the Ohio State information out. There's a kid in Ohio State, cut from everything, cut from his high school team, cut from his Culver Academy team, sat in the stands doing the video camera, never got to play, and all of a sudden, you know, 17, 18 years old, the only team that was recruiting him heavy gets him, Ohio State. The kid's unbelievable. He gets drafted by the Bruins. This kid at 12, 13, 14, 15 didn't play like real hockey. Like, didn't even make his high school team, didn't make his JV team. I mean, like, think about that. And that happens all the time. I mean, it's a sad state of affairs. We only see those short stories. But my point is, imagine if he just said, I'm going to the school that doesn't want me, and then gets cut. Right. Or then stays there, and we see it in the you know, older parents will understand and Christy obviously understands it, is the NCAA portal, is that now you go to a team that didn't want you in the first place. You kind of forced yourself thinking I was going to go there and make a change. and now you're in the portal because you're miserable because you haven't played in the game in 2 years. So just be, the grass is not always greener. Be careful what you wish for.
Yeah.
And understand, do your research, go in, prepare your kids, talk to the coaches, talk to the parents, and compete. Listen, competing oversteps a lot, right? If you can get your kids to compete, if me as a coach, I'm like, that kid, I'll do something with this kid. This kid will compete for me. That's who I want.
I want to talk to that as our final topic here, as I've been alluding to the whole episode, and we've kind of talked about it throughout the episode, is that on ice portion of the evaluation is parents, you let go, they're on the ice and they're on their own, right? So what are the things that they should know, right? The first thing I'll say, as we said before, your kid's going to get a 60-second look at some point, most likely during the tryout. You don't know when that's going to come. So naturally, the entire tryout, you must work your hardest. That is one of the things I like to say to the kids I coach, to the kids my kids, right? You just do the best you can until the whistle's blown at the end. And by the best you can, I don't mean you kill yourself out there in terms of just going nuts. Just work as hard as you can in a controlled way, right? Is it about budging in the front? No, but you tell your kids, make sure you get back in line, make sure that you look like you want to be there. Here's a common mistake. Get to the front of the line. Get to the front of the line on every drill. You know what, man? I'll tell you what. I've told myself, I'm going to be like third in line so I can watch the kid first screw it up. So then I know what to do. All right. And again, there's nothing wrong. If you know the drill and you want to be first, yes, absolutely be first. But nothing wrong with being third and watching and understanding and learning. I'm a visual person. I wanted to see the drill done a couple of times before I went. All right. I notice kids in the front. I can't tell you I've ever picked a kid because he was always first in line, unless he knew what he was doing, right? It wasn't because he was first. In fact, most of the time coaches will say, you go first because you know what we're doing, right? That's number two. Number three, Mike, you said, Christy, you said it too. Just a good attitude, right? Some kids can be bullyish. Yeah. You're not there for the other kids. You're there for you, right? And to work hard, you just smile, turn the other cheek, all that good stuff you read about, right? It's tough again when you're a teenager. But you got to understand that, if that kid gets in your head, that's what they want. I remember, again, a quick story. I remember being at a tryout one year, and a kid cross-checked me after a drill hard. I didn't see it, from behind. And I was really upset. And I remember on the next drill, this is just how my mind worked. It was in my head a little bit. And I remember it was a skating drill. And they blew the whistle and I kind of tripped. And I just, for whatever reason, snapped, got up, worked as hard as I could. And I won the race, basically, having fallen at the beginning, right? I wasn't focused on that kid. I was just focused in general, right? So I know for a fact, because I was told that caught some eyes, right? That I fell down, got up and went. Yeah. I've also seen kids fall down and just give up. Like, now I'm not going to win the drill.
Right.
It's not what we're looking for. All right. Another one, Mike said this too. Again, you never know who's evaluating. Parents, this is just a personal one for me. The ability for your kid to pass and be a playmaker will pay itself off in the end. I promise you. Don't get me wrong. Scoring goals is a very important skill. A player that, I've noticed players that are passing and making 10 assists in a tryout over the kid who scored 3 goals. I want the kid who's made the 10 passes. I want them both. But my point is, all right, I look for playmakers. I've seen a lot of playmakers overlooked, unfortunately. But your ability to have a 360 game, back checking, getting back to defense, right? My final thought, and I'm throwing it to you guys. I just want any kid I coach or my own kids to come off the ice and look at me and say, I did everything I could out there today.
Right.
That's what I want to hear, whether they make the team or not. I did the best I could. All right. Or if they say, I could have done better, then we're going to use that as a learning experience. That's the most. It's not what team did I make. It's did I work hard as a parent. Saucing the puck over to you two.
Yeah. And also, your kid loves the sport, and you got to reinforce that to say, you love this. You love being out there. You need to show it. Right. Show how much it matters to you being out there, and how much, you can make a difference to the team and to themselves, just go out there and prove yourself.
Christy, another one that you just remind me of, last year when Logan was trying out, and the year before, people asked me, what are you telling about tryouts? And you know what? I didn't tell him anything. I guess, he knew it was something,
Yeah.
But I said, hey, the coach is just going to look at you. Just go have fun and work hard. That's what I told them.
That's great advice.
Yeah.
Don't put the pressure on them.
At
If
some
you
point,
don't do this, you're not
well,
going to be
I
this
saw
too.
parents like, you need to do this. You need to do this. This is a serious thing. This is a serious thing today. And it's like, whoa.
Way too much pressure.
Right. Like, what do you think that does to the kid?
Exactly.
Right. Like, you're teaching them how to be anxious.
Up and now they're going to be self-conscious out there and so worried about making a mistake.
I promise you, parents, I'm saying this as a parent and a player and a coach. They're going to put enough pressure on themselves already, especially as they're teenagers. Just don't add it.
Don't add to it. Exactly.
Mike, you got one of those smiles on your face again. I love it. This is Monday morning.
Listen, I
smiley today
because I've been dealing with parents of tryouts the last 3 weeks. So, what am I going to do? Where am I going to go? How am I going to get looked at? Is that the right place to go? Do you like this coach? Do you think this person's good? Do you think that person's good? What do you?
My head's spinning. Stop.
Where are you going? I don't know. Where are you going? Don't tell that person where I'm going because I don't want them coming with me. It's just a matter of. I get it.
Don't miss this, guys. Yeah. I really don't. I remember being in that. It's like, ew, get me out of here.
It's one of the biggest flaws we have in youth sports, right? Is the tryout, is the I don't mind evaluations. I don't mind competing. I don't mind, who's on the pecking order. I'm not saying kids are not better than other kids, but we could do it better. We could do it better for the kid. We could do it better for the parent. We could educate better. But I think in this case, if you're in a situation where you see the flyer, you're signing up online, you're paying your $250 for the 3 days of tryouts, then just think about those little things, give them those 3 little pieces of advice to use it. But at the end of the day, if your kid is good, they're going to get noticed. if they're not that good, they're going to get noticed. And just allow the process to happen. Is it going to be fair? It won't be fair. I mean, again, going back to the beginning, 90% of the time, it isn't fair. It's because there's no true evaluation. It's you look at the kids' helmets and coaches this is what people do. They say, oh, that kid is, they're our best kids. Like that's who we're picking. And if you can break into that, and then, you got the dad that has the kid on the team, the dad that has his neighbor's 2 kids on the team, the mom that has the other, people in their social circles, they're on the team. It happens at every level. It happens at the elite level. It does. Yeah. So just deal with the fact of work your hardest, prepare to play, go to the place where you want to be. And if you don't make it, then either fight to get there or fight in the best place you're placed.
There you go.
That's great advice.
All right, we've solved that. We
did it. Yeah. This podcast is the secret sauce that so many parents use.
It's the secret sauce. It's the secret sauce. There, baby.
It's easy. Just watch out for fraud. That's all. Watch out for the fraud.
And remember, we got it. I have to say this. Remember that it is not the end of your life if you don't or do make a team. It's a game. It's a game. It's a serious game. We're all invested in this game. We all love this game. I'm very passionate about this game. But you got to make sure that it's not the be all end all of how you define your happiness, or you're going to have a tough time because most years you're not going to win.
Yeah. Or it helps you make a decision. The last team I was cut from was the last team I ever played for or tried to play for. So
there you go.
Right.
I just said, okay, well, I'm done. Now I'm moving on. And I think and that could be you at 11. It could be you at 23. It depends on, where you're at in your life. And if you have your kids, and trust me, my parents, they probably felt just as bad at 23, as they would have when I was 11. It's just, you're a parent for a reason. You're there to love your child. If they succeed and they put their best effort in, that's just the way it is. And, and then, you just got to find a way to, pick up the pieces and guide them in the best place you can. But again, don't push something on a kid that's not ready for it.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And don't set an expectation that's just not attainable.
Yeah. Oh. And as you said, Mike, be careful those money grabs because there are a lot of teams out that'll take your money and that's it. And they're only there for that because it's a
DM me. Send me a direct message on Twitter and I will let you know which team it is. Just ask me and I'll say, don't go there. Stay away.
You can make a lot of money doing that, Mike.
I will. There is a fee. There is a fee for me to tell you that.
There's a fee to tell you that.
I take 10% off the top to avoid you making the mistake.
That's how we fund the podcast.
Right.
I want to reiterate to you too how thankful I am for both of you, because like for those of you watching, I have pages of notes that I take on these shows, and it really does help me. So I'm learning along the way as much as I talk, as much as all of you listening are. We know a lot of you are facing this time of year, especially in the younger age groups. But again, what a great episode we've just had, right? Just discussing this, and I think letting a lot of people know, hey, you're feeling correct. What you're feeling is completely normal. So I want to thank you both for that. Got a lot of great episodes coming up. We've got a great episode of Our Kids Play Goalie coming up. Some really superb guests that have played professional hockey. We've got topics coming up about, as we alluded to earlier, what happens when your son or daughter's moving up to the next age group, how to prepare for that mentally, or the next level, right? C, A, AAA, AA, Z, Y, whatever they're calling it nowadays. Also, we're getting towards championship season. So we're going to do an episode about, if you're in the playoffs, what do you do versus what if you're not, right? How do you approach that as a coach and a parent? All really valuable stuff. And then obviously some great guests coming up as well. But above all, I want to thank you all for listening to this episode. Mike, Christy, just before I close it, any final thoughts on this? Because Christy, you always hit a home run with that whenever I ask for that. You just kind of come up with something. No pressure.
Yeah, parents, again, just don't put extra stress on your kids. As we alluded to, they're going to put enough pressure on themselves. They know what's at stake. And if you stay positive and make sure they know that even if they don't make the team, it's okay. We're going to figure it out. There's a place for you to play, a better place, something that's, going to make you even a better hockey player, a better kid. We're going to enjoy it as we're a team too. Your family's a team. You're all in it together.
That was a grand slam comment. I mean, I called it. And it's like Babe Ruth pointing the bat out there. You just knock it out of the park every time. Mike, that's pretty tough to follow, but you got that smile on your face. So I want to.
No. I'm letting Christy. I'm letting Christy end it.
Smart move. Yeah, me too. All right, that's gonna do it for this.
Guys.
There you go. Great episode. That's gonna do it for this edition. Remember, you can email us at any time, team@ourkidsplayhockey.com. If you have comments, an episode discussion that you want us to have, any of that, feel free to email us. Also, a lot of you, as I said, joining our Facebook group, Our Kids Play Hockey on Facebook. It's a private group. I have to answer a couple yes or no questions to get in. It's a great place to be. But above all, thank you for listening. For Christy Casciano-Burns and Mike Benelli, I'm Lee Elias. We'll see you on the next episode of Our Kids Play Hockey. Have a great week, everybody. We hope you enjoyed this edition of Our Kids Play Hockey. Make sure to like and subscribe right now if you found value wherever you're listening, whether it's a podcast network, a social media network, or our website, ourkidsplayhockey.com. Also, make sure to check out our children's book, When Hockey Stops, at whenhockeystops.com. It's a book that helps children deal with adversity in the game and in life. We're very proud of it. But thanks so much for listening to this edition of Our Kids Play Hockey, and we'll see you on the next episode.